As we all know, if you were reading The Guardian, several of our letter writers pointed out that it seemed, except for obviously the mayoralty and the urban race for the elections, the Ashburton district has struggled a little bit to attract enough candidates in certain areas. The question is the current number of councillors too many for a district of this size? And would you consider changing the council meeting times to attract more candidates for future elections? Angus, can you start with this?
Well, it depends whether you want to meet a councillor on the street or whether you wish to know that your councillor is working very hard in the council chambers. Well, I think what we've got at the moment is about right. The trick is to keep it, because we've seen what the Parliament has done with Auckland government reorganisation. And I tell you, the mayors of Canterbury have taken this on board in the last 3 years, and we're actually working towards shared services amongst districts. We're looking at better planning, so when you read a district plan from Waimate through to Ashburton through to Huanui, all the definitions in it will be the same, which will make life a wee bit easier. Coming back to the number of councillors, yes, it could be easier if we halved the councillors. Straight away, they would double the fee that they got each year, so that may be beneficial. Meeting times. If I was to chair a council starting at 4:30 or 5 p.m, I would miss about 50% of the meetings that I have with constituents at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. Because council goes for about 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. So you have to balance that up with having a meeting at, say, at 1:30. Come 5 o'clock, councillors are free to go out and do their thing with their constituents. So if you have meetings at 5:30, you tend to cut back the time that you can spend with your constituents. So let's see what happens.
Okay. Tom?
Well, just on meeting times, the meeting times for this current council were decided by the council after we were elected, as I recall, and that no doubt is going to happen again. The people who are sitting around the table have to look at all the parameters of what their time pressures are and the availability of information of council staff, the need to have access to the public, all of those things, and then decide what is the best fix for that group of people. So I don't favour a set time for council meetings. I favour, let's have a look at the right solution for the group of people we've got and the best way to communicate with our public. In terms of representation, I'm not in favour of cutting the numbers of councillors. The money actually isn't a factor, but time is. But the other thing that's a factor is representation. And I would be really concerned if we had 13 councillors who are all urban and none from the rural districts, Makefield or Hines or Rakaia or Methven or whatever. Equally, I'd be really concerned if we finished up with a group of people who are all from the outlying areas and not from the town. So I believe that what we've got now is a fair spread of representation. I believe that that gives us a view for the whole district, and actually when we take office as councillors, we swear information that says we will look at the interests of the whole district and not just one part of it. I like the fact that we have a variety of inputs. I like the fact that we have both rural and urban. I like the fact that we don't always agree about stuff, and we can put cases to each other and work our way through the democratic process. So I'm not in favour of changing the representation.
Thank you. Russell?
I also agree with Don. I am not in favour of changing representation. I am in favour of changing the meeting times. I think we need to encourage more younger people to stand. If they have to work all day, it is very difficult for them to take a half day off work to go to council meetings. I think, as Don said, with the incoming new council, They will have a meeting and decide what the meeting times will be. You people out there have the chance to also have a say in that. There are a lot of younger people standing this time. If you put them in there, I believe we will have to change those meeting times, otherwise it won't be feasible for them. I'm in that boat myself. I work full time. If I end up on council, I would need the meetings to be changed to later in the afternoon so I can also go and earn a living, so that we can represent you in the best way we can. We're very, very lucky with the quality of the candidates that you have standing. You have a really good chance to make a good choice, and please, please, please don't let apathy be the winner on the day. Exercise your right to vote. Whether you only tick one box or whether you tick many more, please vote, so that then you can come to these meetings and have your say, and you've had a hand in helping make the decision on the way Ashburton is run.
Right. Angus or Don, you want to add anything to that? Or?
No, we'll wait and see what the new council comes up with.
Yep. We all want to see that.
Because they do get to make the decision.
Right. A lot of questions have been flooding in the last couple of days before we cut it off. All triggered by the infamous, now I have to say infamous shop in Rakaya. Synthetic drugs have been in the headlines after the Rakaya retailer received a license to continue to sell the drugs. What are your views on this situation, and should the council and could the council be more proactive to shut it down?
Obviously, I think those synthetic cannabis, whatever they are, cigarettes or pills or whatever, are a blight on the landscape, and they shouldn't be here at all. We've got enough trouble with alcohol, as I mentioned earlier, and that simply compounds the problem. So I'm absolutely against the synthetic cannabis. We were discussing it, we actually had an ACAS meeting half an hour before I came here tonight, and we were discussing just that issue. We had an expert in synthetic cannabinoids here a couple of weeks ago. He spoke to both the colleges and a couple of public meetings. Unfortunately, there were only about 20 people at one of the public meetings, but the dangers are absolutely crystal clear. They are dangerous to health, they are dangerous to sanity, and they should not be available. The problem is, and I believe in terms of the council, we can be proactive in saying that publicly. I have no difficulty with that at all. The problem at the moment is that we don't have a legal weapon to deal with those situations, and the Rakaya issue, you will know about as well as I do, is just one of those examples. So I believe council should be doing everything in its power, legally and morally, to get rid of synthetic cannabis. What we can't do is break the law.
And I'm totally opposed to the synthetic cannabis. I am pleased to see that Joe Goodhue is going to Rakaya to have a meeting with the residents out there. My solemn wish is that the national politics actually stand up, grow some teeth and say, no, we're not going to allow synthetic cannabis, and just ban it all. Because the day's not far away from when we'll have a shop opening in Ashburton. And we just do not want that. We have enough problems, as Donna said, with alcohol. We do not need synthetic cannabis here. I would like to hope that everyone would just about form a human chain around a shop like that if it did happen to open in Ashburton. But I'm passionately opposed, and I'm hoping against hope that national governments will come through and ban all such products.
I think on one I agree, but there are a couple of little problems. Council would have had its policy or bylaw on this written already, but for one thing. When the members of Parliament, because it wasn't open vote as I understand it, when the members of Parliament come down so hard on it, they actually didn't give any regulation that a council could write into a plan. So we can write a plan, we've got no teeth. We're waiting on the regulation from Parliament to do that. Just one word of warning. Yes, I'm against it, that's the headline. But remember when, I don't remember it, but remember alcohol was underground once and banned, prohibition, they called it. People were still drinking alcohol, but the control was that it was illegal. So if you make it illegal, you can't actually put a regulation around it because it's already illegal. But I believe the parliamentarians are tightening the noose and will continue to tighten it so people can partake of the safer type of drugs. So I'm not saying I'm for it, but I'm saying just beware that if you push it underground, you can't actually control it. But if it's above ground, to use a phrase, you can actually put the regulation, you can make it safer, and every day of the week they have been tightening it. I only had our Member of Parliament, the Associate Minister of Health, in the office the other day, and she was explaining how it is tightening, and I've actually heard out on the street that it is tightening as well. So the regulations that they're bringing in the Parliament and the work that they're doing to tighten the noose is working and starting to bite fruition.
Okay, well, you all agree. I think we have to carry on with that. The last question on my list, well, thank you very much. You've raced through them quite nicely, so we've covered a lot of ground. The last question is one on the lighter path for our younger readers who've been writing us through their parents, I assume. Most of Ashburton has been involved in raising funds for the new EA Network Stadium complex, and we all can't wait to see it be completed. Many in the district, especially the younger ones, however, feel it's not complete without the big water slide. Will you support the council jointly funding a water slide with the community to be ready in time by the time the stadium opens? Russell?
This is a very easy one for me. Yes, I totally support a water slide for the kids of Ashburton, and maybe, not only for the kids, but some of us big fellas as well. I have a vision for this area, which incorporates the water slide, mini golf, BMX track, and an outdoor basketball hoop. And if we make barbecues available as well, it will be a fun, safe place for you to take your families and enjoy an afternoon, take some of their money off them so they can go and play their mini golf and go on the water slide. I must admit that during the school holidays I used to get the pressure put on me, take my children either to Christchurch or Timaru, so it'd be really nice to have those facilities here so during the school holidays people don't have to leave town to spend their money. 18 months ago I attended the youth meeting at the council when nearly every speaker there spoke of the need for a hydroslide for the youth of Ashburton. I also believe our mayor received many letters from school children after that requesting the water slide, and I was disappointed to see it wasn't in the final plan, so I'm really hoping it does go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
Just the other day, since I had my fourth meeting as a mayor with people from the community looking at doing something jointly with the council on the water slide. Everything is going into the building of the EA Network Centre that will make it possible to have a water slide without taking the wall out or anything like that. The pipes are going in, the electrics are going in. We've either, did not tell some of the letter writers this, we've even got a slightly bigger pump going in one place. So we wouldn't have to buy a new pump if the water slide went in. That's the thing that pumps the water up to the top. The only thing that hasn't persuaded me to actually vote in favour of a water slide yet is the drain on the ratepayers every year for the actual running of it. Putting in is not a problem. It's the actual running of it, the business model. I haven't seen one yet that stacks up, and it's actually come to me, this is the fourth time that I've been in discussions with a group. Each time, yes, great idea, it only costs so much, yes. When they actually bring the running costs, they walk in and they look a bit down and they say, it doesn't actually stack, Mr. Mayor. That's our problem. If we could get it to work commercially, yes, it would go.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have to support what Angus has said. We did have a session last week with the report from the Stadium Trust, and they want to start talking to council about the possibility of a water slide. I think we would all love to see a water slide, but there are a couple of provisos. When we first looked at the costing of a water slide, I think we were talking in the area of $1 million. Now, it could be twice that. We don't know, but that figure came from the Stadium Trust people as a possibility, not from us. So what we need to do is put the business case together. My understanding is that there is a water slide at Timaru, where Aquacentre kicked off with a hiss and a roar, but my understanding is that they have now restricted the hours for the operation of the water slide because it costs more money to run and they aren't getting the customer. I've got a feeling the same thing applies on the West Coast. So yes, we want it. Yes, we want to do the best for our kids, but we also want to make sure that the business case stacks up. What we agreed last week was that we would start talking with the Stadium Trust people, our council staff, our CEO who has come from Hiranui and knows a bit about water slides, and the hot pools and water slide were a key part of his domain until recently. We want to have those discussions. We would love to see it, but the business case has to work.
Okay. Russell, do you want to...
I'm just wondering if this same business case scenario was applied to the actual stadium itself, not the swimming pool, but the stadium side. Are the ratepayers going to be continuing to pay for that? And was the same formula put through to the Art Gallery Heritage Centre? Was there a business plan on that that stacks up so the ratepayers don't continue to pay for that? You know, I'm not sure what the difference is.
Well, Mr Chairman, it's public knowledge that the Art Gallery was on its way before I became Mayor. The stadium stacks up at the present subsidies that we're giving those particular sports, so therefore the business case meets the needs. We've actually going to bring in a system where all the staff are going to be employed as council employees instead of having a separate full board. There will be some form of board for the public and the user groups to work through with suggestions and that, but the cost savings there are quite significant in the business case going forward. So yes, Russell, the answer to your question for the one I was involved in, the answer is yes, yes and yes.
Can you answer that?
Can't really add to that. Successive councils have approved business cases that have got us to where we are now with those items. So yes, as far as I'm concerned, and the information we've seen in the last 3 years, the business cases have stacked up.
All right.
Can that just lead on to another question? If we save money by employing the council staff to run the swimming pool complex, do we not then save money if we employ staff by the council to clean our town centre instead of contracting that out as well? And many of the other things that we contract out, should we not bring that under council control if that will also save money?
Angus? Well, Don, whoever feels...
Well, we used to own our own braiders. We used to clean our own toilets. And if you have a look at how the contracts have been expiring, if it's any help to you, we have brought the roading inspectors in-house. Of course, if we do that, don't growl at us when our staff reaches 250, will you? Because that will be the other swing on it. One thing that we would have to do is if we did that, we'd have to proceed straight away, forthwith, with a new council administration building, because otherwise these people would be scattered all over town in different buildings. Because we're at capacity now. The council staff have been doing a great job. They have been working in quite confined conditions for quite a number of years, and if we put more people in that building, it'll just pop. In fact, they're working tighter than any office worker in Ashburton town would be working now.
So
they can add off to it.
So your answer to the question is yes, you want to bring all the servers inside, but...
I'd like to have a look at it as each contract comes up.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, a contractor is in charge of the toilets here in Ashburton, for example. Whenever I've used them in the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've been pretty good, yes.
But the main constraint is the size of your council building, is that what you're saying?
That's one of the constraints, yes. And of course, as soon as the council gets big, we have the knockers that come along and say, oh, but you've got too many staff. So the more jobs we take on, the more staff we actually need. But we're not paying consultants for those. So there is a balance there.
Okay. Don? What do you this?
It is, like all of the rest of this, a balancing act. You've got a certain amount of money and you've got a number of tasks that you are charged to do legally and in every other way for the community. And you have to try and make what is never enough money go around what is always too many jobs. So we are constantly looking for ways to make that happen, to manage all of that successfully to the best that we possibly can, and we will continue to do that. And frankly, if Russell and I are both on the council in the next term, I'll look forward to all of the suggestions he's got for helping us to do it better.
All right.
That's up to you people.
All right, thank you very much.